What if I told you that in just the last 2 years, we've discovered more of the enigmatic Nazca Lines than we did in the previous 50 years combined? Wow, it's a staggering 303 new figures to be exact. For a century, we've been mesmerized by the giant spider, the hummingbird, the monkey. Yeah, geoglyphs so massive they can only be truly seen from the sky. But a revolutionary new technology, one that combines laser mapping with a powerful artificial intelligence, well, it has just peeled back the desert floor to reveal hundreds of new, previously invisible figures. And these aren't just more animals. No, they depict a completely different and frankly a more disturbing side of the Nazca culture. This discovery is not just about finding more drawings. This is a complete rewriting of why the Nazca Lines were made. The evidence points to two separate purposes, two different groups of people using the desert canvas in ways we never ever imagined. So stay with me, okay? Because in this video, I will reveal the groundbreaking technology, the shocking new figures they found, and the new theory that changes everything we thought we knew about this ancient mystery. For almost a century now, the Nazca Lines have been one of archaeology's greatest and, let's be honest, most popular puzzles. Right. Etched across 450 square kilometers of arid coastal plain in Peru, these giant figures, they fueled our imagination. The sheer scale is just breathtaking. The hummingbird is 93 meters long, and the lizard stretches for 188 meters. They were created with this deceptively simple technique. The Nazca people just removed the reddish-brown iron oxide-coated pebbles that cover the desert surface. By clearing these rocks away, they exposed the lighter-colored sandy earth beneath. Yeah, it's a simple act of removal that creates a stunning, lasting contrast. Pondering. But the biggest question has always been, why? Why create this colossal art that you, the artist, could never fully appreciate from the ground, right? This paradox has led to a flood of theories. The most famous one, proposed by Maria Reich, the German mathematician who dedicated her life to studying the lines, was that they formed a massive astronomical calendar. The lines, she argued, aligned with the sun and stars, tracking solstices and constellations to help the Nazca with their agriculture. Others have suggested they were ritualistic pathways, giant walkways for religious processions where entire communities would trace the outlines of sacred animals. And of course, there are the more exotic theories. Oh yeah, you've heard them, that they were landing strips for extraterrestrial visitors. It's a fun idea for science fiction, but it's an idea born from a fundamental misunderstanding of the people who made them. It assumes they lack the ingenuity or, the motive to create such wonders on their own. But the truth, as we are now discovering, is far more complex and far more human. For decades, this was our understanding, focused on these giant, iconic figures. Okay, we'll call them the line-type geoglyphs. We believed they were the whole story. Well, we were wrong. The real story was hiding in plain sight, just too faint and too numerous for us to find. Until now. The first challenge in finding new geoglyphs is just the sheer, overwhelming scale of the Nazca Pampa. I mean, the official protected area is over 600 square kilometers. Manually searching aerial photographs for faint etchings that might only be a few meters across is like trying to find a single specific grain of sand on a beach. Seriously, it's an impossible task for human eyes alone. Archaeologists knew there were probably more smaller figures out there. Right, they'd found a few over the years, often by sheer luck. These were different. They weren't giant animals, but smaller figures, often on hillsides. But they had no way to systematically search for them. Exciting. This is where the technological revolution begins. And it's not just one technology, but a powerful multi-stage combination. First, researchers from Yamagata University in Japan, led by Professor Masato Sakai, partnered with data scientists from IBM, and their first step was data acquisition. They didn't just use old satellite photos. No, they used a combination of modern, ultra-high-resolution aerial photographs and drone imagery, capturing the desert with a clarity of just 10 centimeters per pixel. On top of that, they used airborne LiDAR, that's laser scanning, to create a precise 3D map of the terrain. This gave them an unprecedented digital model of the entire Nazca region. But even with this data, you still have that needle in a haystack problem. How do you sort through terabytes of data to find the faint signal of a 2,000-year-old etching on a desert hillside? Rampant. The answer, and the true breakthrough, was AI analysis. The team developed a deep learning artificial intelligence, so they trained it by showing it all the known examples of the smaller, fainter figures, what they call the relief-type figures. It's like teaching facial recognition software, but instead of recognizing a human face, you teach it to recognize the unique, faint signature of a 2,000-year-old etching on a desert hillside. Impressed. Once trained, they unleashed this AI on the entire 629 square kilometer dataset, and the results were staggering. The AI model was, according to the research paper, 21 times faster than a human archaeologist at identifying potential geoglyphs. In a remarkably short period, the AI flagged over 47,000 potential candidates. Now, this wasn't a case of press a button, get the answer. No, the AI produced a probability map. It was the job of the human archaeologists to then painstakingly screen these thousands of candidates, separating promising shapes from, natural geological features or modern tracks. So it was a true human-AI partnership. Anticipatory. They narrowed the list down, and then, this is the most important part, they went into the field, narrating. Over a 6-month field season from 2022 to 2023, the teams on the ground investigated the AI's most promising suggestions. Walking the ancient desert, they confirmed one by one the existence of 303 new geoglyphs. And dramatic. And what they found? Wow, it completely changes the narrative. These were not the familiar wild animals of the famous Nazca Lines. In fact, a vast majority of them, over 81%, depicted something else entirely. They found humanoids, often in these dynamic poses. They found strange ceremonial scenes. Grave. They also found dozens and dozens of decapitated heads or figures holding them. And they also found domesticated animals, like llamas, which were crucial to the Nazca economy, but completely absent from the giant, older figures. Analytical. The classic line-type figures, like the spider, are enormous, averaging 90 meters, or about the length of a football field. They're located on the flat desert floor, next to huge geometric shapes like trapezoids and long, straight lines. These new relief-type figures are tiny by comparison, just averaging about 9 meters, and their location is completely different. They're found on the slopes of hills, not on the plains. And crucially, they're almost always located right next to small, winding, ancient trails, footpaths. This is a critical distinction. The big figures were made to be seen from a great distance, maybe from the sky, maybe only in the mind's eye of a god. But these new smaller figures were clearly meant to be seen by people on the ground, walking these ancient paths. Imagine, you're a Nazca trader or herder 2,000 years ago, walking a desert trail. You come around a bend and see etched into the hillside next to you a 30-foot-tall carving of a warrior or a depiction of a human sacrifice. Wow, that is a profoundly different, more personal and immediate experience than the distant spectacle of the giant figures. It's a message, a story, a warning meant for the individual traveler. The implications of this are just staggering, and it leads directly to a new grand theory of the Nazca. Engaging. But before we get into how this rewrites the history books, if you're finding this as fascinating as I am, take a moment to hit that like button. And if you want to be the first to know about these kinds of archaeological breakthroughs, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. It really helps us continue to bring these incredible stories to you.